All right. Welcome back to the Black Swamp Basketball Podcast presented by the Gerken Companies, joined again this week by Tori Strock here to my left and Coach Dave Krause, and we have Greg Badenhop back with us here after a nice tournament run for the Liberty Center Tigers. Good to see you again, Greg, and we're going to get into our NCAA Tournament picks and some insight, and Greg is the resident NCAA Tournament guru.
I love college basketball.
Greg, this may be, and it also may not be, but it may be the year that I make it over to your gathering.
Oh, I'm telling you, this is the year to do it.
But I'm afraid one of these years I'm going to take the leap.
Once you get there, you'll fit right in. I mean, it'll be like Bluffton and circa 19, whatever that was, all over again. It'll take you about 10 minutes to realize we're all the same. We're all there for the same reason.
So I'll be welcome.
Oh, with open arms.
Okay.
Do you think we can go back and make it Kent State 76?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'll feel at home now.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll get into the get-together that happens at the Badenhops here a little bit later in the show. Let's wrap up the girls' season, guys. We had a state champion from this area, Columbus Grove. Got it done in Division 6.
Well, not only team of the week, that's criteria for team of the year. You know, what they did, they went down there to Dayton and just dominated from the get-go. You know, and that's how they played a lot of their year. And if you look at that team led by an unbelievable senior, but boy, do they have some, and only senior, they really have some personnel coming back. So it might not be a surprise to see the Bulldogs right back where they ended.
65-46 over Rootstown over the weekend. They forced 25 turnovers, led 22-6 after the first quarter. You talked about Lauren Moody, 17 points, 6 boards, 6 assists, 5 steals, and then her supporting cast, Nicole Nesby, 13 points, 16 boards, Kendall Palthy, 14 points, Aubrey Schrader, 14 points.
You know, it's pretty cool, and I know we talk about Grove a lot during football season, but you know, sometimes schools get a label. This is a football school. This is a basketball school. You don't have to just be one or the other. Columbus Grove, and I know there's others. You know, you talk about some of the MAC schools, but Columbus Grove, they do an outstanding job in everything. I mean, they're good every year in football. If you know anything about track and field, they're perennial powers in track and field. Girls just won a state title. I mean, it doesn't have to be one or the other. You can be excellent across the board, and Columbus Grove's done that.
And that really shows just how well they support, number one, that's obvious, but number two, how connected their coaching staffs are.
Connected.
Nobody's got an ego about them that, hey, our programs can't, we can't do that. We got to share, and we'll all be good, and we'll benefit from it. And you got to give them kudos, because that's where it should be across the board anywhere.
Great point, Dave.
For sure.
You know, the one thing I'll add to that is I hope your listeners and the people that were down there understand how special it is to be down there and win a state championship. I know Columbus Grove folks do, but just outside the area, you know, it's not every day you get to send a team down there to win a state championship in any sport. So not only kudos to them, but I hope the people who are outside their community appreciate just as much people inside the community, because that's a pretty special thing.
I wonder when the party ended in Columbus Grove. Because our good friend Sparty sent us a photo, and it looked like it was well underway and not going to conclude anytime soon.
So one of the things they like to do in Columbus Grove is whenever they experience success, which is often, they like to throw toilet paper over the stoplights in town. That's just kind of a Columbus Grove trademark, and I knew they'd do it. And so we asked our good friend Sparty, hey, are they throwing the toilet paper yet? And he said, it's awful windy, it might not happen. Well, did you see the pictures of the aftermath?
Oh, yeah.
The toilet paper got tossed.
Yep.
Yeah, it did. You think our good friend Ned Steckschulte could get one up over a light? Noodle arm Ned, what do you think?
I mean, how many tries does he get?
As many tries as he wants. Do you think he made it happen? Now, I know Andy Schaefer probably did.
Yeah, Schaefer probably did, yeah. I don't know.
20-1 odds?
Yeah, I'd say it's unlikely.
But maybe happen. He got some wind behind him.
If he got the wind behind him. Yeah. Everybody else is throwing into the wind, and Ned's throwing with it.
You know, it's interesting to hear you guys talk about all these connections you have down at Grove, because I was fortunate one night to be with you two at Grove when we did a podcast a year ago down there. and they knew everybody. Everybody knew them. They kind of bowed down to the Strocks here in the Grove, and these guys are celebrities in Columbus Grove. That's without a doubt.
We have some good friends in Columbus Grove, and we can't thank them enough. We've had tremendous support over the years down there. Great group of people.
And as I thought through that, one other thing is you think through that not that you want to go too far ahead of yourself for next year, but you mentioned one senior for Grove. I believe Patrick Henry, the team they beat in the regional final, had one senior who's going to graduate. Yeah. You talk about a regional final potential matchup again next year that I feel like both teams would go into it thinking the winner of that game's got a good shot at winning that state title again. Yeah. If that happens, circle that one on the calendar because it'll be a good one.
And without question, that's probably where it was this year. When that winner of that game put themselves in a great position. You'd had to get past a very good, solid Minster team, but Grove did that and moved on. And boy, it's a neat experience for that whole community.
Congratulations to the Lady Bulldogs! What a great year, and will never be forgotten in Columbus Grove. Also, congratulations to Anthony Wayne. Fell a little bit short in the Division II championship game, 70-55. They fell to Winton Woods, but a great year for the Lady Generals as well.
When we talked last week, we didn't really we were really supporting Anthony Wayne and one of the Lady Generals to have the finish to it, but we didn't really give a lot of credit to Winton Woods. They're like undefeated. They were like if you ranked all the teams in the state, they were like number 3 in the state, regardless of division. So, they were playing a high caliber team.
Took the best of the best to get Anthony Wayne.
I think you're right on.
Yeah, they hung in. I listened to the Grove game and listened to the AW game, and AW hung in there. Mm-hmm. They would make little mini runs and get it to 4 or 5, but Winton Woods, man, they're balanced and they're super athletic, and one of their best players is only a freshman.
I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Anthony Wayne scores all year long, and if you've seen him play, I mean, you can't help but come away impressed. So for a Winton Woods team to knock them off, I mean, that's an impressive win because if they're third, Anthony Wayne had to be in the top 10 girls teams in the state of Ohio. So kudos to Winton Woods, but again, great season for Anthony Wayne girls.
Yeah, for sure.
Columbus Grove, the team of the week again, courtesy of the Gerken companies. No argument from you guys on that one?
No argument, man.
Pretty dominant tournament run.
They were, and the PH game, was that the regional final?
Yeah.
At Bluffton. You knew that was going to be a dandy, and it was a good game. Mm-hmm. But where I thought they could get tripped up was against Minster in the state semis.
Yeah.
And they found a way. And after they climbed that hurdle, there was no stopping them. And maybe there was no stopping them before that because they were locked in, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's wrap on our girls' season. The boys playing their state championships this weekend at Dayton, starting off with the Division 3 game.
Yep.
Louisville against Cincinnati Aiken. That's Friday at 1. Division 4, Cleveland Glenville against Zanesville Maysville. That's Friday at 4:15. Division 2 state championship. How about Massillon Perry? 14-13. Going to the state championship, they will play Westerville North. That's Friday at 7:30, as that will round out Friday's slate at Dayton. And then Saturday at 10:45, the Division 5 state championship is Cleveland Heights Lutheran East against Columbus Academy, who is 28-0 on the season. Division 6 state championship, 2 p.m. Saturday. Monroe Central against Marion Local, 26-2 are the Flyers. Division 7 state final is 5:15 on Saturday. Willoughby Cornerstown Christian, 21-8 against Russia, who is 28-0. That's Saturday at 5:15. And then the state championships round out with the Division 1 state final. Olentangy Orange 25-2 against Reynoldsburg 26-1. Saturday at 8:30. I know, Coach Krause, you're going to be down there Friday and Saturday.
Absolutely, and looking forward. There's some really good matchups. If we start at the end, that Battle of Central Ohio taken down to Dayton between Reynoldsburg and Olentangy Orange. Wow, that's about 1 and 2 teams in the state. They don't like each other. It's going to be a battle.
Is that the game? If you were going to watch one, that one's
that's a must for sure. I mean, I don't care if you got Spectrum or buy it or whatever. If you can't get down to Dayton, that's a must-see thing. That's going to be a great game.
And some of those finishes, you see them on Twitter and they're on your feed. I mean, some of those buzzer beaters and nail biters.
Yep, unreal.
You know, and it goes back to what you said, Greg, how special it is. It is so hard, Dave, you know as well as anyone how hard it is to get there, let alone win it. And you're going to have some games like that along the way, aren't you?
Well, you are, and you know, the basketball fan in me feels disappointed because we should have been down there being able to watch them all in a normal situation, you know, but we weren't able to. So we missed some unbelievable games and contests and endings and instant classics, etc. But you know, yeah, you're so right. When it comes to succeeding, and there's sometimes it's just a luck. You just got to get a lucky call. You know, maybe it's a matter of a jump ball and the possession arrows your way. You know, there's just some freaky things that can determine games.
Greg, you guys scrimmaged Marion local, right?
We
You
did.
both had extended football seasons.
We did.
And I was thinking about that when they made it all the way here to the final. When you scrimmaged them, did you think state final potential?
They were really good for a couple days of practice. I know that. I mean, they were light years ahead of where we were at that point in the season. But they were, from what I remember, they were extremely balanced. You know, the Niekamp kid gets a lot of pub because of his scoring ability, but they're just extremely balanced. They play about 9 or 10 kids that, in my opinion, when I think back, they all kind of look the same, play the same, they all have the same sort of skill set, and boy, they'll guard you. They sit down. I mean, there's a reason why their football team has had success with the athletes. They're not huge, they're not monsters, but boy, they're athletic, they're quick, they're strong. Certainly pulling for them, be cool. You know, it's always, as coach could probably attest to, when you have a connection like that, a team you've seen throughout the year, you're always pulling for them to pull it out. And you know, as I look at those games, and maybe it's just because it was our division, but that Cleveland Lutheran East Columbus Academy game. Cleveland Lutheran East is chock full of Division I athletes. TJ Crumble, if you've never seen him in person, he doesn't look like a back. He looks like a tight end. He's about 6'8", about 240, just a monster scorer. And then Columbus Academy has the Singleton kid who's getting offers from Big Ten, and I just want to see that sort of athleticism for a Division V game. It won't look like a Division V game. There's going to be athletes all over that floor. That one to me will be very interesting to see. Can Lutheran East do it for a third time in 4 years or whatever it is, or can Columbus Academy kind of pull it out?
Then there's one thing out there that if you go to the Division VII final, Russia beating Arlington, and you know, it was evident that Russia was a well-drilled team. They've got everybody back. They're long. They're talented. They play well together. But they're going to go against a Cornerstone Christian team that nobody really knows much about. And here they've got their main player just broke John Diebler's all-time scoring record in the state of Ohio.
Yep.
A kid named Quinn Kwasniak.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and now his dad, Babe, is the longtime coach there. His dad, Ted, was the longtime coach at Villa Angel St. Joe. He was the guy that was coaching them when we beat them in '97. Babe was an assistant coach. If you remember that particular game, and we lost Ted this past year. He passed away, but what a great guy. But one of the things in that game was a controversial ending. It went our way, and we were totally happy and ecstatic over that. It was pre the review thing, so you really couldn't see if a ball was shot should have counted or not. It went our way. Ted Kwasniak, in his way he handled his team, he told his team, "Look, guys, it's a tough way. It's a tough way to lose a game, but you know what? If that's the worst thing that happens to you in your life, you've lived a pretty darn good life." And I've always remembered that, and I just thought that was perspective.
I remember him saying that now.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so this is this Quinn is his grandson. They call him Turtle. That's his nickname. And he just you don't see it in the media. He just broke John Diebler's record for the highest scoring output of anybody who's ever played basketball in the state of Ohio. You know, you don't see it, but we're going to see him next week.
You know, one interesting thing, you mentioned Russia there that sticks out to me. Here's a team who's ran up against Richmond Heights the last at least 3 seasons, 2 out of 3 for sure. Probably the second best D4 team in the state for multiple years, and Richmond Heights just is Richmond Heights, and they kind of were able to win those games. I'm not sure I'm pulling for anybody, but you feel for a team like Russia to kind of get an opportunity here to maybe go, stake their claim on top of the mountain after some heartbreaking state finals games. And one more thing to add to what Coach was saying about the Final Four. I know as you've talked to all these coaches, and they're all saying the same thing, and I'll reiterate that. It's a shame that we don't get that experience. And as I watched those games, Coach, I think the part that stuck out to me the most was those games still felt very regional. They felt like they were still those regional games in which you have good crowds, but they're just crowds that already are familiar with those teams. Part of what's made state great was you got to go see a Louisville play a Garfield Heights, and those are two teams I have no idea. I don't see them on film. I don't know much about them. That part of it to me, you know, aside from all the things that have already been mentioned with the communities and the kids and you're robbing them of the experience and all that, it just feels as a coach and as a fan of basketball, you're keeping those games very regional, and where you could have a showcase event where those kids get exposure to people in parts of the state that you never would have had before. And I know I'm piling on to what everyone's already said, but man, I really hope that what they're considering at that level is finding a way anyway to get that Final Four back.
And you're on the right track. And Tyson McLaughlin last week when he sat with us, you know, he kind of wrapped it up perfectly, I thought, is that, hey, look, we've all been through it. We've complained about this. We've complained about that. Well, let's quit complaining. Let's find solutions. You know, let's kind of work together and see if we can come up with a plan to better the situation. You know, let's focus on the games. Let's focus on the athletes. That's what it's fair for this last week. Let's enjoy it. But moving forward, can we come up with some solutions?
Yeah. I think the telling thing for me is I haven't heard one coach that said, "Oh, I like this new concept that we're doing."
No.
There hasn't been one.
No.
Yeah.
And there's been some surveys done that the coaches remained anonymous that the Van Wert Independent did, and there wasn't one coach in there that said, "Oh, yeah, this is great," and that's what I'm hearing, and I'm sure that's what you're hearing from your
and we
colleagues.
talked about it last year when we read this podcast at the end. I think you can do it with two sites. You know, one city.
Go to your Twitter page, right?
Yeah, yep, it's on there. One city, two sites. I feel like you can do it. I know St. John's is kind of maybe out of the equation, but you have plenty of places in Columbus that could do it. Columbus has two that could do it, even if it's Dayton, Wright State, and Dayton UD, and have the girls one location if that's how you do it, and boys in a different one the following week, so they both kind of get pieces of the pie. I don't know, but I know there's ways to do it. And as Coach said, I know there's more than enough coaches out there willing to lend their help, their voice, their whatever they can do to come up with that solution to make it, that experience and that event that I think we all remember and grew up with.
You know, at worst, we'd all love the Final Four experience again.
Yeah.
You know, with 7 divisions, is it possible? You have a plan. I've seen it, and I've bought into it, and I think it would work. Now, if for some reason the mentality of the toothpaste is out of the tube and they can't go back or make it work, then I would suggest to them, look, let's make this last weekend a locational thing. Let's put all 14 semifinal games in one location, and everybody can come and watch all those games and see them. Make that a special weekend. It's a basketball extravaganza, and then the winners move on to Dayton. Then I think that could work too. At least give us appease us a little bit. But the way it was this, let's move on. Solutions are the key at this point.
Yep.
Yeah. Did the games feel like a regional setting for you, the state semis coach?
I actually thought it was like a third level of regionals. I did. Even at Bowling Green, it was packed. You saw those games on TV over the weekend. Every site was packed. You can't argue with that. But it doesn't. I think Greg puts it perfectly. Hey, there was a lot of people who are neutral fans who go to those things every year that want to see all the games. Yeah. And that's what was missing.
How many straight years have you been to the state tournament?
I've been there since the 6th grade. That goes back a ways. However, I do have to take a pass because when I was in college playing baseball, that was during our season. And those 4 years, I missed 1.5. My freshman year, I was there. My sophomore year, I was there only for the half because our team, we drove back from wherever we were in Texas or wherever we're at. I got dropped off in Columbus and watched the half
awesome.
of it anyway. So I've pretty much seen every one of them except for 2.5 of them.
Yeah.
Jeez,
since the 6th grade. So It's been fun.
And to go back to your point, Lynn, I think would be very interesting for me is talk to Coach Vermillion at Arlington, Coach Shelton at Colonel Crawford, and ask them, did it feel like a state semifinal game to you? Did the experience, match? I know they've 2 coaches that are very involved in things. They've been down to state a lot, and talk to the coaches who played last week or this past weekend and aren't getting to play this upcoming weekend in UD.
Well, you don't get that practice or the shoot around in the big arena,
right?
If you're a Final Four team,
the hotel.
You don't get to stay overnight with your teammates.
There's so many things that are missing, and the one thing is, I loved taking our team to the other games.
Yeah.
You know, they had special seating for the competing teams. And you walk in there and people are patting, you know, it was good for the players. You know, they were getting kudos from people. Hey, I loved your game yesterday. Good luck tomorrow. Those kind of interactions are certainly not available either.
Yeah, Kent Seaman's performance against Casstown, Miami East, Krause in 91-92, right?
Oh, yeah.
That wouldn't have been in that setting. I remember one thing I remember very well because we were at that game. I think it kicked off the whole tournament.
It was game one.
Game one, and so I was there with a bunch of my Liberty Center buddies, and Kent Seaman just can't miss. And it's funny in the concourse and stuff. That's all people were talking about. People from like Northeast Ohio, Southeast Ohio were talking about this Seaman kid from Patrick Henry. Is he being recruited? Where's he going? Otherwise, he'd have been stuffed in some high school gym, you know. Now, but anyway, those are special things.
Yeah, Coach Krause, I'm putting you on the spot here. Any special memories from the state tournament? You got a coach there.
Well, yeah,
won a state championship. Was there other moments that you've been there?
Beyond those moments, boy, I remember Clark Kellogg, his senior year when he went off for 51 in a losing effort.
Jeez.
All right, but here's this guy, after the game, because you see him again, he just decked to the tee. He's got a nice, like, fedora hat on. I can just see it today, you know, and you see him on TV, and he carries himself just like that. You know, he's a classy guy. He was classy as a high school senior, and I'll never forget that effort. Unbelievable. And then my other favorite one is going back to late 70s, the Magics of Barberton High School. Boy, did they have a tournament run. And their senior year, they had Carter Scott, who ended up going to Ohio State. They had the Bodner twins, who ended up going to Michigan. That team was phenomenal. I mean, they were a fun team to watch. And what made them special for me was they're right next door where I went to college, and my roommate was from Barberton, and his dad was a policeman. So for 2 straight years, I went to every home game at Barberton, and all I had to do was sneak in the door with the policeman. And we saw this great team play for 2 years, and it was a special memory as well. So,
you know, one of the things I remember, Lynn, anyone who's ever gone to the state tournament for any period of time, especially when it was at St. John Arena, Dave and Doug Krause, the Krause brothers, always had the best seats in the house. And that can't be debated. It can't be argued. Dave, you know it. Let's move on.
Yeah, I remember when I first got into coaching, you got this email that said you got to apply for blah blah blah, and I just wrote an email. I want the Krause tickets. I'm not applying for anything. I want to sit right where they sit. And
you know what I mean?
The email went back real quick to me. I know that much. I sat in the upper deck, I think, for the first couple of years.
Yeah.
There were a few years we had some good seats.
Yeah, a few. 35 and counting.
That's great.
And counting.
Yeah. Looking forward to the state finals this Friday and Saturday. And safe travels to you down to Dayton, Coach. Be looking for you on TV.
I'm hoping to go down Wednesday night. If my son can pull off some first 4 tickets, I think I might make an early appearance to Dayton.
Putting the pressure on your son, huh?
Yeah, he's got some pull.
Okay. Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You ever get tired of it, Krause?
Not really.
I mean,
why would you?
You were in Indy, right, for the Big Ten?
Yeah, I went there for
tournament?
2 days. That was fun.
But did you see what is he? Big Buckeye, Big Nut?
Big Nut.
Well, there's a picture of one of the Krause brothers, but not the other one, all over social media.
Was it Doug?
Yes.
I think I saw that.
This one, I didn't see a picture of him.
Hey, him.
He likes to lay low.
Rabbit and the Big Nut are, you got a good nickname, you combine. Yeah. They're together. They got a good friendship.
I was a little disappointed not seeing you.
I'm okay with that.
You didn't show your state championship ring?
I don't need to be on Facebook. I'm fine with that.
Now, Krause, when you go down to the state championships, will you have the ring on?
I will wear my ring. It's the only time of the year I wear it, unless there's a wedding or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's the only time I'll wear it.
Good.
Outstanding. That's a wrap on our high school portion this week on our podcast. We're going to come back and talk about the NCAA Tournament.
High school seniors, uncertain that college is right for you? Concerned about the cost of higher education? At the Gerken Companies, we offer rewarding livelihoods even without a degree. That's a good living straight out of high school with no tuition debt. Starting pay between recent college grads and those with high school diplomas is closer than you might think. So if you enjoy teamwork, working outdoors, and being part of something meaningful, consider your options at gerkencompanies.com/careers.
American Freedom Energy and Grandma's General Store off Route 24 on State Route 109, just south of Liberty Center, now has 88 unleaded fuel and is your one-stop shop for fuel, food, drinks, and much, much more, including locally raised meats and home-baked goods. American Freedom Energy and Grandma's General Store is proud to support Black Swamp Football and is the host of the Black Swamp Football podcast, football show, and Saturday mornings Rise and Rewind. Stop in and see Glenn and Greg today and make American Freedom Energy and Grandma's General Store a part of your everyday routine. Thank you to the Gerken Companies, also Greg and Glenn Badenhop here at American Freedom Energy and Grandma's General Store. We're going to talk about the NCAA Tournament, and as we mentioned in our pre-show here, Greg Badenhop, boy, he puts on an absolute incredible NCAA Tournament party. How long ago did your party start?
So this is the 14th annual this year. So it started, as I mentioned before, it started just a couple of my college buddies took off Friday from work, and we sat there and watched, and then we thought, like, we should do this every year and kind of expand on it. And now it's to what it is, where, you know, we got the 4 screens going, and believe it or not, we've even evolved to all of our wrestling fans out there. The NCAA wrestling goes on this weekend as well, so we've added a 5th television in the corner, and I think it'll go all the way through Saturday night as the championships maybe. So we watch the quarters and the semis and the consis and all that stuff, and the 5th. So we got all sorts of entertainment, you know, betting Tic Tacs and things like that back and forth between friends. And I mean, and you know, when we talk about it, people think that, okay, yeah, you know, you're going to watch some basketball. I mean, we start at Thursday at 9 a.m. We start cooking breakfast, and we make a mess, and we get going, and you know, people come and go, but there's people there, you know, upwards of 50 at times, down to, you know, 5 to 6 maybe in the mornings, you know, as people go back and reset themselves. And this is my favorite 4 days of the year, and we do it big.
Greg, let me interrupt you real quick. I put you on the spot. Who is the longest tenured attendee at your gathering? Is anybody 14 for 14 or 13 for 13?
Yeah, Curtis Brown and Sean Kobilis are both. Those are the 2 guys that were there from year one. Those are the OGs right there. So
Curtis Brown.
Yeah, they get to make some rules with me when we make decisions. That's sort of the board that kind of has to make decisions on things. But yeah, they were there from the get-go. Those are the 2 guys that kind of came up with this, you know, thing for me, and they'll be there Thursday at 9 o'clock in the morning. We already got the menu situated, and steak and mess, and on we go.
That is great.
That's great. That's great. Black Swamp basketball, football, whatever you want to call it, sponsoring another basketball pool. We're also adding the women's pool this year.
Nice.
Go to cbssports.com, search for Black Swamp 2025. You'll find our bracket. You fill it out. $100 gift card for the men's winner and a $100 gift card for the women's winner right here to American Freedom Energy.
Yeah.
Is there a password to enter that as well?
I don't think so. If there is, let me know. There shouldn't be. You should be okay. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
He's trying to get in on that $100.
Yeah. He ain't no dummy.
He might want the 200. You know anything about the women's bracket?
I can guess like anybody else.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Sometimes that's better.
So get on there and check that out. You can go to our link on Facebook, our X Twitter page, and also on our website.
You said it's CBS.
CBS.
Okay.
CBS, not ESPN.
Yep. There's a lot
CBS,
of
yeah. Yep.
Good.
Go on there and probably don't want to look at my bracket. I don't do too well on these things.
Well, I made a good run last year. I really did. But I used my real name, and I think you did too. So many of these people hide behind nicknames.
Yeah. You got to put your real name
Put
on.
your real name. You know what I mean?
I know Jeff Sleesman's in there, our good friend.
Oh, he's loyal.
Yep.
And he won't be afraid to put his name.
Nope.
Put your name, or at least part of your name. I can live with Hopper.
Yeah, something to guess on.
Yeah, something to guess on, but don't hide.
Right. Absolutely.
Own it.
Yeah, for sure. Is this the greatest 4 days of sports of the year, or 2 days, Thursday and Friday? I know your answer.
Yeah.
It is for me.
Yeah.
Well, I think without a doubt it's unbelievable, and I think the whole process till the end is unbelievable. I went for years and years and years. I probably went to 10 straight Final Fours. I mean, they were just unbelievable events to go to. Yep. You know, it was just I would say the next, I think it's next year or 2 years, it's going to be in Indy. And if you have any inkling to ever go to a Final Four, make sure you put that on your calendar because that is a must attend. Indy is the best. Indy, they know how to host. It's all downtown. It's all right there. It's a must attend thing.
Yeah, I second that. I've been to 3 or 4 Final Fours, and by far and away, Indy does it the best. It's just everything's there. It's clean. You can walk anywhere you want to. Restaurants are great. It's a great experience, and it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter who the 4 teams are that are playing there. Just the experience will be great, and the basketball will be good, and it's a great time.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Do you think it's the
I do.
the greatest
I do,
2
and
days?
I'm a football guy or baseball, but this for me is I can't miss it. I watch every game.
Yeah, New Year's Day, for me, New Year's Day football bowl games would be a close second. I do agree. This, for my money, this is the greatest sports weekend. I agree.
And it used to be not that long ago where I could do March Madness was this weekend during regionals.
Yes.
And then the state tournament was the following weekend. So you'd go to high school basketball all day. Then you can go sit down somewhere, and there'd be the Sweet 16 games on Thursday, Friday, and Elite 8 games on Saturday, Sunday. Now that's a 2-week span, a 10-day span of just basketball glory right there that your liver needs a break from come Monday after the state tournament. But it was a good time.
Yeah. There was a lot of talk of North Carolina making the field.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, guys?
I think that this is going to come down to, college football's got the similar type of issue in which you got to stop moving the goalpost. You talk about quad 1 forever, quad 1, quad 2, quad 3. You group your record in those, and that's kind of what the top metric is. Well, Carolina went 1-12 in the quad 1 wins or quad 1 games, so they beat one team in that top quadrant. I don't know how you can justify that over West Virginia, even Ohio State, who I'm an Ohio State fan, so selfishly I want to see them in there. Ohio State had 6 wins in quad 1, including wins over Texas, who's in the tournament, and multiple Big Ten schools that are in the tournament. Kentucky, yeah. So you kind of move the goalpost, and the cynical side of me says it's not great that their AD is the chairman that's making the final decisions. Even they can say he's not in the room. He's in that room for 99% of that conversation. So I don't think Carolina.
He also has 6 figures for North Carolina being in the tournament. I think there was a report today that he got $104,000 for the Tar Heels getting in the tournament.
Yeah, put it this way: if you switch resumes with Boise State and North Carolina, Boise State doesn't get in with the 1-12 quad 1 situation, or San Diego State. And if they could just admit that a little bit and just say, at some point it does come down to some revenue driven, I could probably live with that more so than lying to us about by them qualifying or being deserving.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Michigan, a 5 seed. I'm not a Michigan, I'm an Indiana basketball fan, so I know everybody knows I'm a Michigan football fan. So don't say, he's tooting his own horn here. No, I'm not. Win the Big Ten, beat Purdue twice. They beat Wisconsin twice. And they're both higher seeds than you.
I think what in my opinion, they made it very clear that the conference tournaments didn't mean a whole lot, because there's no reason why you're going to put Purdue at a 4 and Michigan at a 5 after Michigan just rattled off those wins in a row, wins the Big Ten title. By most metrics, would say they're a borderline 3-4 seed, which is a big deal. It's a big difference between a 5 and a 3. But I thought that the biggest mistakes they made were all on the 8 line. I was confused at if they
Louisville, Gonzaga, and all that.
Louisville, Gonzaga, and UConn, who's a 2-time defending national champion, all 8 seeds. So if you're Houston, Florida, Auburn, you win your first game. You're playing a team that, in my opinion, would in a different seed line would have legitimate Final Four aspirations. Just to get to a second weekend, that's where I saw the biggest seed mistakes. There's probably a good dozen teams that those number ones would rather play that are 3, 4, 5, 6s, and 7s than those 8 seeds in Gonzaga, UConn, and Louisville.
Maybe not the same teams that those 3 have had in the past, though.
Louisville is a top 15 team in my opinion.
They're pretty good.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
Now UConn's the one you could say from a performance standpoint, but you won 2 national titles in a row. You're not scared of a whole lot going into this tournament.
Not the same defensive team, I don't think, that they've had the last couple of years.
Not without the big boy inside.
Yeah. Any double-digit seeds that you guys foresee making a little bit of a run here?
I like Drake.
I do too.
They're an 11. 11. I think they can go out and beat Missouri.
Yeah.
That first game, and they'll give Texas Tech all they want.
Yep.
UNC Wilmington's no slouch, but Drake's legit.
Yeah. So one of the interesting things about Drake, one, their coach is phenomenal. He's going to be, if he stays at Drake, great, but he's going to go whatever job's open that he wants, he's going to take it, or he could take it, I should say. He's phenomenal. McCollum does a great job, but they play. One of the things I like Ken Palm rankings. If you're ever bored as any sort of college fan, just go look at those. They're phenomenal. Drake is the slowest tempoed team in the country, and when you're at that level in the NCAA tournament at that slow a pace, you could beat anybody. I think Virginia showed a few years ago you can lose to anybody and you can beat anybody when you're playing at that slow of a pace, because it's just always a 1-2 possession game here and there. That could be a dangerous thing for an 11 seed. You go up against a Missouri and a Texas Tech who maybe like to get up and down a little bit more. That'll be an interesting kind of contrasting of styles as Drake goes through the tournament if they're able to knock off Missouri. Yeah,
for sure.
Does Akron, do they have a chance against Arizona?
I'm going to tell you right now, if there's a game to watch from an entertainment standpoint in the first round, I got 2 of them for you. That's one of them, because the pace at which both of them want to play, and Akron they'll let it fly. They have no qualms about letting that 3 ball go, whether it's one pass up in transition or whether it's end of shot clock. They're going to get them up, and so will Arizona. So I do think Akron's got a shot. I watched them play, not their first round in the MAC, but their last couple. They're good. They're good. They're hard to guard. They spread you out. They shoot the ball well. The other one, from a pace standpoint, Grand Canyon, Maryland. You go to that one. If you're looking for you're a casual fan, you're not interested in the defense, you just want to see some guys get up and down, those are 2. Grand Canyon, Maryland, Akron, Arizona. Tune into those 2 games, bet the over, sit back and enjoy.
Tyon Grant Foster for Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
He can play. He was a Kansas commit at one time, had some heart issues, and ended up at Grand Canyon. But they can play. And Bryce Drew, one of the heroes of March Madness from the past.
From Valpo. And Maryland's got the highest scoring starting 5 in the country. Derek Queen, who's a big, that's 25 and 12 all day long. And
the Crab 5.
Oh yeah, the Crab 5. That'll be an entertaining one.
How about McNeese State? You like McNeese State, Greg? I know you watch a lot of hoops. I like McNeese too.
There's something about, and I'm not trying to sound young here, but there's something about the aura of that team that just feels like they're just maybe more confident in what they should be. But this time of year, that's a good thing to have. And Will Wade, for all his past history, the dude knows how to get guys in his program, and those guys end up winning. He's going to, Coach and I were talking earlier, he's going to be another one who's going to take another job here for too long and be a high major coach. And McNeese is sitting there, and if you're Clemson and you're Purdue, you're sitting there. Those are probably 50-50 type of games, in my opinion, if McNeese comes in and can get off to at least a decent start, and that's kind of the biggest thing for most of these underdogs.
McNeese had the 16th best defense in the nation.
Yeah,
the regular season.
They don't play real fast for having the dudes that they do. Yeah. Their tempo is near the bottom.
But they have some dudes.
They've got some dudes,
older dudes, and that are kind of dogs.
Yeah, and they got the most famous student manager in the world coming out with that boom box, and he leads the charge, and he's got his own NIL deals now, the first non-basketball player to have NIL deals. So when you talk about aura and swag, that McNeese State is walking out there with all the confidence in the world, for sure.
Purdue, what's their chances in their opening round game? That's another game that I know a lot of the experts have kind of circled that could be a potential upset.
Yeah, High Point's going to score. They can put the ball in the hole, and I think Purdue, you're just kind of Purdue and Virginia, like in my mind, as I think back in the past tournaments, they're just, it's kind of all or nothing for them. It's like, when they get rolling, when they get all the pieces going, they're good, but they're also very susceptible to losing early. I'm not sure why that is, but I will say, come this time of year, give me Braden Smith and a kid like Braden Smith all day long. That's a heady, smart, experienced, veteran point guard. If I'm going to avoid an upset, that's a good way to do it by having a kid like Braden Smith. So if they're going to win, and they're going to avoid that upset, it'll be because a kid like Braden Smith kind of wills them to that point.
I know you got yours filled out, Coach Strock.
I do.
Coach Krause, I don't know about you.
I've been watching. I haven't done the actual.
Give me
I'm just ask Greg though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Take the 4 regions, rank them.
Yeah, I have to go. The Houston, Tennessee one, to me, only when you rank them, for me, I look at the top 3, 4 seeds. Right. So when I look at just the top 3 there, it's Houston, Tennessee, Kentucky. So Houston, Tennessee, if they get to that Elite 8 game, you talk about an absolute rock fight between 2 physical, just guys that look like they belong on Sundays, not on Saturdays, playing or NFL football. I think that one sticks out to me. The bottom left,
the West,
Florida and St. John's. Yeah. For my money right now, if I'm a betting man on a national title, Florida's the best team in the country right now when they're healthy. They've got all the pieces and parts. Clayton Jr. leading the way is just a stud, experienced, and then St. John's there's just something about New York and Rick Pitino that just fits in that sort of tough mold of they're going to get after you and guard you, and I like that aspect of it, but. We already talked about, UConn's up there, Calipari's down there with Arkansas at 10 seed, getting Boogie Flynn back, and
well, that's the particular quadrant that I really think is interesting.
Yeah,
because you've got 3 coaches that are Hall of Famers, and in the second round will be Pitino versus Self or Calipari. That's interesting in itself.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So when you look at these brackets and you tell me the NCAA committee doesn't have storylines on their mind, look at that little quadrant down there and tell me that Pitino against Calipari in round 2 isn't appealing for a Saturday afternoon game.
St. John's has some older guys too.
Yeah.
R.J. Lewis, an older guard.
Yep.
Kadari Richmond, an older guard.
And he is one of the few that I've heard just come out, and Pitino I'm speaking of now, and basically said that he's not recruiting high school kids anymore. Yep. I mean, what a you knew it, if you're involved with it and you kind of see, what's happening, but for him just to flat out say, I'm replacing 22, 23-year-old men, and there's no 18-year-old that I'm bringing in that's going to do anything to help me next year. So he's going portaling. He's very honest about it. Fortunately or unfortunately, that's where the game is going at that high major level. I mean, the kids, the Cooper Flags of the world and the high level, they're still going to be there and get their piece, but a D2 kid averaging 18 and 10 a game all of a sudden can plug and play for your post or your power forward is an appealing option.
So truly, if it would just hypothetically come out to a Duke and St. John, just based on maturity of the team, St. John would be a pretty good pick.
Yeah.
Just being older, mature kids against Duke's high-level younger players.
Zuby Ejiofor, he's a man.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a man.
Yeah.
You kind of saw what happened at Duke a couple years ago. I think they played Tennessee. They were a younger team, and Tennessee, with their physicality, really took them out of their game.
I will say that Cooper Flag's different.
Yeah, he's different. They're a little different than they were,
That young man is different is in all the good ways. That guy he's a transcendent sort of talent that you don't get to see at the college level very often. And I hope he's healthy. I hope that ankle's okay, because I'd love to see him deeper in this tournament playing against some elite competition at a high level, because he's fun to watch.
Yeah. You mentioned the Ken Pom earlier, and that is for a basketball fan. That is something to go to if you've never gone to it. KENPOM.
Yep.
But go to that and look at their adjusted offense and defensive efficiency ratings, and you would know better than me in terms of the historical background, but typically the winners or the people who get to Final Four, they're in the top 10 in both offense and defense efficiency, and they mark them right there. So that's always something to look at in terms of the efficiencies.
14 of the last 16 years, they've been top.
So
the national champions have been top 10 or top 15 in both.
So it's top 10 offense, top 20 defense is a 98% over the last. I think 2014 UConn is the exception to the rule.
Right.
And if you expand that to top 21 and 31, it's every champion since. I'm not sure what the year is. I'll say 25, 30 years at least. And there's, so just so you know, so as you're filling out your bracket, I did write them down. So the teams that qualify for that, in that 98 percentile, write them down, Coach. Auburn, Florida, Duke, Houston. So there's your 4 number ones, obviously. Tennessee, Wisconsin, Iowa State, and Gonzaga. And then the ones that just missed, so the ones that are just on the outside of one
Gonzaga's
metric.
top 20 defensively this year.
Yeah. No, top 31.
Or top 31.
21-31. Yep.
This is 21-31?
That's 21-31.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And then the ones just on the outside looking in are Michigan State, Texas Tech, Clemson, and Arizona. And so if you're wondering, I don't know who's not on there. Alabama, for instance. Alabama's the number one adjusted offense in the country. And it's not particularly close. And they play the number one pace. But their defense is 40-something in that range. So just as you look at those metrics, having both qualifications. Now, if you go to Ken Palm, you'll quickly see that Duke is high in both, and Houston's high in both, and Auburn's high in both, and then some of those teams are high in one, and then maybe 28th in defense or something. But that's the list. Those are the ones you should pick a national champ from if you're trying to win a pool.
Do you make anything out of the ACC being a little bit down this season compared to the past? Compared to maybe an SEC who's got 14 teams in?
Yeah, that's a hard one for me because I don't know when that shifted so dramatically. And I've watched SEC, and there are a lot of good basketball teams in the SEC. I know that, but it certainly seems like 14 to 4, and Big 12 only had 4, and one of the ones that left out was West Virginia, who in my opinion was lock, stock, and barrel. I mean, they were more 9-10 than they are being out of the tournament. That one's it's tough for me to swallow. 14 teams seems like a lot for one conference. I know they beat each other up, but at the same time, there's something not right about being 6-12 in your conference and making the NCAA tournament like Texas was. That one, I feel like if you could take Texas out, give me West Virginia, even just forget about North Carolina, just give me West Virginia instead of Texas, so it's 13-5. I don't know, even that a little bit makes me feel a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to have you guys go through your upsets for the first round. You want to start, Coach Strock?
Yeah, here's the thing.
Are you an upset picker, or do you like to go chalk?
I'm conservative in pretty much every walk of life, whether it be running the football, politics. I'm a conservative dude, and so I don't get into the upsets a whole lot. Okay,
I don't want to see this Jay Williams, Jay Billis, where they pick all 1 and 4 seeds.
Well, and that's
to the Sweet 16.
really what you're going to get, because
I don't want to see that.
The one thing,
and neither do our listeners and people watching.
But with me, what you see is what you get. Okay, because here's the deal: people try to overthink this, overanalyze it, and so on and so forth. An upset that I did not pick, but I like Yale to hang in there against Texas A&M. Now I have A&M moving on, and I'm not going to divulge too much here because this is pretty much the gold standard. All right, so I don't want to let too much of it out, but I like Yale. I didn't pick them, but I think they have a fighting chance. I like Drake over Missouri, which I said. And other than that, man, I like BYU better than most people probably do. I like BYU to the Elite Eight. You talk about experience and veterans and guys that know how to handle their business. I'm a fan of how BYU's whole mission, to be honest with you. And so I like them. But other than that, I'm pretty much according to Hoyle.
I'll give you a couple here in the first round and just a piece of advice again, if you want to win the bracket, pick upsets early and chalk late. So if you pick an upset early, don't take them to Final Four or anything crazy like that.
But we've had some teams, NC State a year ago.
You have, but
Yeah.
There's always somebody that you don't think of.
But if you predicted that one, that means your other three probably aren't very good either. So
Well, I think you got maybe one. Maybe one.
Okay, I can give you one.
I got to always go one.
So first round, you said first round upset. One that you talked about earlier being poorly seeded. I think Michigan's in trouble. UC San Diego, that's a team that's won 30 games, I think 15 in a row or something like that.
Forced the second most turnovers, and Michigan is not great.
Correct. And
in that department.
Michigan played extremely well in the Big Ten tournament. However, sometimes there's emotional letdown after that. You feel like you got something accomplished. And generally, not always, NCAA tournament's about guards, not bigs, and Michigan plays two bigs, which is hard to match up with. I very much understand, especially with the way that Wolf plays, coming off ball screens at 7 foot and making plays. I mean, that's silly. I mean, that's almost unthinkable at the college level. But I think UC San Diego comes in there, gets that tempo up a little bit, maybe gets them in a little bit of a rat race, turns them over, and pulls off the upset.
Plus, that game's at 10 o'clock
Yep.
in Denver.
Yep. Yep, Michigan going to altitude.
Yeah.
Everybody going to
Quick
altitude.
turnaround after a long
Yep.
Big Ten tournament run.
Mentioned McNeese earlier. I like McNeese over Clemson. I just think McNeese has it kind of rolling right now. And in that same quadrant, give me High Point. I want to root for the Big Ten. I want Purdue. I love Matt Painter. I think he does a phenomenal job of developing players. But just something about High Point. Those are the biggest ones. The only other one I'll mention here, and I'm not sure it's really an upset, but in those first 4 games, we've moved past the conversation whether they deserve to be there or not. That doesn't matter anymore. But if Texas or North Carolina win that first 4 game, if I'm Illinois, if I'm Ole Miss, I do not want to play. If I'm Ole Miss, I do not want to see a Carolina team that just won on Tuesday night or Wednesday night. And if I'm Illinois, I don't want to see a Texas team that just already won a tournament game. Those 2 teams, I'm not saying that, VCU type of run from first 4 to Final 4, but you get one under your belt.
UCLA did it a couple years ago.
Yep, absolutely. You get one under your belt for a team that's talented. We know they're both talented. You get one under your belt, and then you kind of rattle some off. I would not want to be the team, and it's almost a punishment more so to be that 6th seed to have to play that team that just won than it is to be a 7 and already know your opponent.
Yeah. I don't like BYU, so I took VCU, Coach Strock. How do you think? What do you think of that? That's one of my upsets.
I don't like it. I'm a big B. I'm a going back to Lavelle Edwards in football. I love BYU.
We're not playing football.
I love the mission, the discipline it takes to.
That ball, Torrey, does not bounce very well.
That's
that
true.
football does not bounce.
That's true. It doesn't. But I'm telling you, I've always been a BYU guy.
I like McNeese, and I like High Point.
Yeah,
I'm with you too.
McNeese is going to get to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
You've got to have some chaos somewhere.
I think both those teams, and one of those 2 will get there, and obviously that would be where I would look at an upset. The other one I like is Utah State.
I like Utah State
them,
too.
So.
Yeah. I like Drake getting to the Sweet 16 too.
I like that. I'll call another one here that I know he gets a lot of credit. Izzo's phenomenal coach, but that if Marquette gets past New Mexico in that first round, Cam Jones, Marquette's guard, I watched him in November and December and thought he's potentially National Player of the Year good. And he hadn't had that sort of type of a season. He's had a great season, just not National Player of the Year type of season. But that's the type of guard that come tournament time, people don't know a ton about, casual fans, that could take his team and lead them a long ways from that 7 spot. Kind of an unassuming 7 there, just kind of hanging out. Michigan State's very good. They're deep. But the one thing Michigan State doesn't have is that they don't have that guy.
Yeah.
Like, when you make a run in the tournament, no matter what your seed is, it's going to come down to end of shot clock, setting the ball screen, ISO, whatever it is. You need a dude to go make a play. Michigan State has a lot of good players. The Jason Richardson, the Mateen Cleaves, the Cassius Winston, those guys are just not there for them right now. They're very good as a team. In a close game, that makes me more nervous than I feel like it helps you.
Yeah.
What about teams, Greg, that right now have maybe a key piece injured and nobody knows what their status is?
Texas Tech is the one that sticks out to me. 2 of their better players. I just listened to Cast Talk last night, and he said up in the air. Said there's a chance they'll play. Not sure how effective they'll be. I can't think of their names right off the top of my head, but there's 2 of them that have not played. They did not play in the Big 12 tournament. If they're back, that matters. And then Arkansas, I think it's Boogie Flynn.
He's going to be back.
Yeah, so if he's back, that's a big difference for Arkansas. And Arkansas with him is probably more like a 5, 6, 7 seed if he plays all year long as opposed to a 10.
Yeah. And Iowa State lost one of theirs.
Yeah. Yep.
One of their stars.
Yep.
That they won't have.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the thing about the tournament as it kind of goes down get the Thursday, Friday over and get to Saturday, Sunday, you start matchups matter so much more than necessarily seeds. I mean, you're stylistically, it matters.
Absolutely.
When you have teams like Drake, you mentioned Drake. If Drake gets past the first game, that's a nightmare for the second game. That preparing for that pace and how they slow things down. You can't do that in a day. You can talk about it and watch the film. I think about Syracuse back in the day with Boeheim. The reason he went on those runs all those years, they were great for sure. You got one day to prepare for that zone.
Yeah.
6'9", 6'10", 7 foot wing, and we have 5 days. That's probably not enough time. You got 24 hours in film. That's the reason why Syracuse was tough. So when you get to that second game of the weekend, matchups matter. Stylistic stuff matters.
Colorado State, Memphis, another possible upset.
Yeah. It's interesting. Colorado State's not in the tournament if they don't win that game against Boise, and Boise is. I mean, obviously Boise would have got the automatic, but Colorado State was a middling Midwest or Mountain West team a month and a half ago and just got hot at 12 in a row or whatever it is. So you talk about a team that earned their way into the tournament. Nobody more so than Colorado State. Memphis, I got a soft spot for Penny. Penny was my guy back in the day. I still contend Penny and Grant Hill, without injuries, become two of the top 15 players of all time. Those two guys were just my guys.
I can kind of see your game similar to Penny Hardaway.
Yeah. We were the same build, same athleticism. Yeah, same.
The Rams have Nick Clifford, who played at Colorado a year ago, a transfer, and he's one of the better players in the entire tournament. I don't know how Colorado State got him from Colorado, but he's big time.
I know that Mountain West in general has grown to the point where they're not a Power 5 necessarily, but when it comes to basketball, they're right there with the Big 12, and certainly they've passed the Conference USA and those type of conferences. And I was glad to see San Diego State, making their run, kind of validating a little bit, because it seemed like for a while there, Mountain West would get 3 teams in or so, they'd all lose in the first round or something. Nice to see them kind of.
They got a bunch in a year ago. What, 5?
Yep, 5.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Who's your number 1 seed that goes out the quickest?
Boy, I like them all.
All of the Final 4?
When I wrote down, there was only one number 1 or number 2 that I don't really think is going to be in the Elite 8, and that's Michigan State. And so if I'm picking one of the number 1s, I'll say Houston. And I love Houston, but only because they have to play Gonzaga in round 2, and I just think that's just tough. That's just tough to do. And then Louisville and UConn are also tough, but Gonzaga, I mean, you saw the numbers. That's in my opinion, that's a top 12-ish team in the country. Getting an 8 seed that I'm not sure why. I'm sure some metric somewhere said that's the way it should be. But I think if I'm giving odds, it's Houston that would go out first, just because I like Gonzaga so much.
Auburn lost 3 of 4. Chad Baker-Mazara is kind of an X factor.
Yeah.
Is he going to go off the rails, or is he going to lead you to? I mean, he can go either way. He got booted from the Yale game a year ago that they lost.
Yep.
He's had some issues.
There's no more of a Bruce Pearl guy than that right there, right? I mean, always living on the edge. When he's good, it's good, and when it's bad, you got to rein it in. But I think part of that 3 out of 4, they clinched, and they had played a schedule that was unlike anything you'd ever seen. I mean, they won 14 quad 1 games before the end of their season, before the conference tournament. They clinch it. I think a day or 2 later, they turn around and lose. They go on the road. They lose again at A&M. I don't put a lot of stock in that. Now, if there's, only Bruce would know this, if there's some sort of real issue going on internally or otherwise, that's different. I don't put a lot of stock in their losing 3 of their last 4. They were the best team in the country up until that streak, and it wasn't particularly close.
Louisville possibly second round. Terrence Edwards Jr. and then Chucky Hepburn. They got 2 guards that can really go.
Yep. I like Louisville. Again, I think misseeded. That's a tough second round game for Auburn. Really is.
Yeah,
who's your first number 1 out, Coach?
I would say Auburn, because I'm a fan of Louisville and Pat Kelsey.
Think they can go out
I just like them. I like how they play. There's no given that they're going to win that first game against Creighton either, though. So, I like Louisville's chances against Auburn better than I do Creighton's for whatever reason.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing about Creighton, though, is their experience. Kalkbrenner's been there forever. Stephen Ashworth's been there forever. A couple guys that can shoot it. But you'd have to think the athleticism of Auburn would win out at some point. But
can you divulge, Coach? I know you're kind of just laying in the weeds over there, huh?
Yeah, I don't like that. I did well in your pool last year, and I've got a system. Okay, I've got a system, and Greg gives out way too much information. I mean, that guy's super smart. I don't overthink it. I like number 1s going a long way, as you can gather, but I'm a big fan, and Greg, for the reason you said, I'm a big St. John's fan just because of those Rick Pitino, New York toughness.
Yep.
I mean, if any coach is going to get a call down the stretch, it's probably Pitino.
Yep.
And I think St. John's can get Florida in the Elite 8. And Florida's unbelievable. I've seen them play about 4 or 5 times. But St. John's, man.
It seems like St. John's has that old big East toughness that you remember.
Right.
And I just saw, during this whole stretch here, they were, some highlight clips from back in the day. It was Pitt and West Virginia playing in a Big East championship. And I'm not kidding you, 9 of the 10 starters from Brooklyn, New York, from Queens, Jamaica, New York, they were all from New York, and it was just a street fight and just tough, and rebounding was just exactly what you'd want it to be. I feel like that's what St. John's reminds me of. I mean, at a different pace a little bit, but just a bunch of tough dudes.
Yeah.
Can they go 4-5 rounds where they don't have one of those off shooting nights? Because they haven't shot it well this year.
Yeah,
and they've struggled.
That's one of the reasons why it's tough for me to pick as a national champion. They just don't shoot the 3 ball well enough.
Are they going to go into a game potentially against Florida in the Elite Eight?
Yeah. Interesting with that Kansas and Arkansas game, just a tough draw for St. John's, because those are 2 teams that are not going to be really intimidated by their physicality and getting up down the floor. Not that, anybody, but you look at some of those other 7-10 matchups, if they're playing some of those other 7-10s, St. John's is liable to run them off the floor with their physicality and getting up and down. Yeah. Kansas and Arkansas aren't going to be scared of that environment.
I was watching a show last night late, and they were talking about St. John's and a coach that played them. I can't remember who it was, but it was a top 50 team, and the coach said, I don't even know if we can get the ball over half court against these guys.
Yeah.
They were that worried about playing St. John's and how big they are.
Yeah,
they know where the weight room is.
And when you watch them play, they pressure, but the part that's so phenomenal is their rotation behind it it just cleans everything up so quickly that you beat the first pressure and think, I got him beat. Here comes the help. You throw it, and there's somebody rotating, and they never stop rotating. They have 5 guys that can switch a bunch of stuff, which makes it very difficult offensively, and they just never stop rotating, and they never stop trying to go for steals. And it'd be a nightmare as a guard to try to play against that.
And Pitino's not scared to switch it up if something's not working.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of coaches out there, we're just going to stay in man.
Yeah.
Well,
sometimes you have to.
He's seen it all. I mean, there's nothing that he's going to see in this tournament that he hasn't seen somewhere along the way. So, yeah, his experience on the bench will be real helpful to that group.
And to go back to what you mentioned before about Louisville, Coach, Pat Kelsey, National Coach of the Year, if he's not in the conversation or getting it, that team was a dumpster fire before he got there. They were 0-for in the ACC. They had hit the bottom of the barrel when it came to where Louisville had been under Pitino and otherwise. Almost instantly comes in, turns them around, turns them into a top 15 program. Just a phenomenal coaching job.
Well, and they're going to be playing at home, basically, right down the road in Lexington. So
I'd like to be Auburn there.
That to me is an interesting place for them to be, and they can get Gerken. I think they could give Auburn all they want.
Yeah, a lot of these schools that switched coaches, St. John's, what Rick Pitino's done, Dusty May, and they were a dumpster fire too a year ago, just like Louisville was.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like the downside of that is now you've got ADs with trigger fingers who you have a struggling sort of a year for a coach who maybe just got there, or maybe he's in year 2. You're going to see the turnaround of Will Wade, Rick Pitino, McCollum, like those guys have just come in instant success. Kelsey, it's good and bad. I mean, the good part of it is that good for them. They're going to probably, some of them take it even a step further, or at least get paid for what they're doing. But at the same time, you're going to see some firings because of results expected after year 1, if not 2.
One of my last questions. Give me your Final Four and national champion. I don't know if we'll get it out of Coach Strock. I don't know if we'll get it out of him. I'm a little worried about my bracket because I have let's see. I have 5 SEC teams in the Elite Eight. And I've done this 5 times, and I keep coming up with the same group at the end.
So mine's kind of just a rough draft.
I may make some adjustments.
I haven't submitted anything.
Okay.
When you get when you get Greg spewing some of that wisdom at you, it makes you rethink some things.
Yeah.
And so I remember feeling like that last year too, looking at. But I feel pretty good about things. Final Four, I'll go first because I don't have as much analysis as these basketball gurus. But I like Auburn, Duke, St. John's, and Houston. All right.
Okay.
And then since I was about 8 years old, I've never been able to pick against Duke in that final weekend. Even though they don't win it every year, I cannot pick against Duke if they're healthy. I like the Blue Devils.
You think St. John's can get Florida?
I do. Okay. I do. I don't think they beat them in a 7-game series, but I think you toss the ball up one time in a street fight, I think St. John's could do it.
Okay.
Well, I'm semi with you, Tori. I like Louisville. I think there's a team out there that's going to make a run, beat some people they're not supposed to beat. I think they're in a good spot there to do that. On the bottom of that whole side is St. John's. I think that'll get, and then the other side of the two number ones, Duke and Houston. And that goes back to the finals. I got Houston. I'm a big Kelvin Sampson guy. I love how they play.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I got Auburn, Florida, Duke, and Tennessee. 3 SEC teams. I don't know if that's smart or not. That's just I've done it 5 times. Usually I change it up after I do it a couple times, and I just keep coming up with the same group. And I have Florida winning it all. I don't think anybody's touching Florida.
Boy, they're good. They're good.
Yeah, I'll preface it by saying this. I mentioned it before. I think there's 7 teams in this, in my opinion, that I just love. All the 1s and 2s. I'm not crazy about Michigan State, but the rest of them I love. Alabama, if they could just get enough stops, boy, they're fun to watch offensively. But I'm going to go chalk. I'm going all number 1s. Auburn, Florida, Duke, and Houston, and give me Florida over Houston in the national championship game. I love Calvin Sampson as well. I think he's built that. Talk about coach who built a program. I like Duke, but I think when you get to a certain point of inexperience versus experience, you just got to lean experience. And I love Florida. I watched them play this weekend, and there's not a piece they don't have. They're fearless. Their guards are awesome. Their bigs are good. Golden is a rising star in college basketball, and he's going to get paid accordingly. Give me the Gators.
What about Duke without Cooper Flagg? If they
don't make the Final Four.
How far do they go?
They lose to Oregon or Arizona in the Sweet 16.
Is there a chance round 2 if they do not have Cooper?
They're on the luck. If they didn't have Cooper Flagg and had one of those other 8 seeds, Louisville, UConn, or Gonzaga, I would 100% pick them without Cooper Flagg. But Mississippi State, they're okay. Baylor's not the Scott Drew team that we're used to having, although they do have one of the best freshmen in the country who's going to be a lottery pick. And that's the type of kid that could take over a game. But they were good enough in the ACC tournament watching them without Cooper. But if they don't have him, I think Arizona or a well-coached Oregon team, Dana Altman, for whatever reason, always seems to be in the Elite 8, no matter where he's at and who he's coaching. So I could see Oregon, knocking them off as well.
Okay.
Greg, how many brackets should an individual be allowed to fill out? Because it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Somebody will have 15 brackets.
I'm a 4 guy.
4. Okay.
So you do your non-research one.
Yep.
So you should have done that one already before we started talking. That's
what
number
I did.
1. You just instinct takes over. You fill that one out. Then you do your research one. Then you do your upset one, and then you do your heart.
Okay.
And the heart one's the most fun. That's the one. That's I don't care about who's better. I want to see this coach.
Yeah.
I want to see this team. I want to see this player. You fill those out, and somehow or another, you always end up with similar type of a thing when you go. But I like doing 4 and keeping it at 4.
Okay.
Now, if there's money on the line, I don't recommend putting the heart one or the upset one in it. Instincts and research. Instincts and research only. But other than that, yeah.
I saw something on Twitter yesterday about that. What's the ideal number of brackets? That's why I asked.
Yeah.
And the person on Twitter said 3, and it was similar to what you said.
Okay.
But I like 4. I like your rationale.
Yeah.
I do like that rationale. How about you, Coach Krause?
I'm a Mike Greenberg guy. Sheets of integrity.
Ooh.
You have one, man. Just stick to it.
That's kind of how I feel, and then I get to Wednesday night, and I'm like,
I
think I need another one to hedge my bets a little bit, and then I'm usually even worse on that.
Yeah, you get to Thursday evening and you wish you'd have filled out more than one bracket.
Yeah, right.
I know it.
Yeah.
What is your go-to food for March Madness? If you're going to have something, what has to be on the menu?
I can tell you mine right off the bat, and it's been, I don't know why, forever. I go to Chief, and you get a Cumberland ham, a whole ham. You have them slice it up to whatever you want. And for 4 straight days, whenever you have an inkling, you just go grab a little piece of cold ham and just keep eating that all weekend.
Okay.
I'm telling you right now, it keeps you just in the right spot. It's not too heavy. It's not too light.
You get a plug for Cumberland, too? I mean,
I should get NIL deals here. Yeah, that's my go-to.
I'm never early home, so I'm not eating anything. But if I'm usually somewhere where wings or pizza, that suffices for me.
What's your favorite concession stand food? Who has the best concession stand food? Can be high school or college, Coach Krause.
Give me a bag of popcorn.
Just a bag of popcorn?
Give me a good bag of popcorn, and I'll throw a bag of peanut M&Ms in it, and I'm a happy camper.
All right, you're not picky then.
Not hardly.
We went to Fairview last year, and they had Ag or somebody had homemade French fries and a cheeseburger. And I sat there during the JV game. It was so good while I was finishing up, and I had no qualms about it. It was that good. I just sat there in my full-on coach and stuff, eating that cheeseburger. So shout out to Fairview, whatever. Maybe it was just that night. I'm not sure, but that was phenomenal.
They used to have the caramel corn there. I think they stopped doing that because it was too messy to clean up.
Pettisville still has the caramel corn.
Yeah,
I'm
they
not
do.
sure if
Pettisville
Fairview
does. Yeah.
Greg, have you ever had the fish sandwiches at Antwerp?
I have not. I've heard about them on the football podcast a lot, but
Yeah.
I've not had them.
Pettisville used to have the walking tacos. I don't know if they still have that, but that was kind of a unique item.
Yeah.
That's great. I like Greg, the ham idea. I was kind of chuckling. The more I think about it, if you scarf down 5-6 pieces of pizza, you can't keep your eyes open.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
I like
No
that.
bread, no cheese.
I mean, every other aspect of my life, I'm a huge bread, pizza, wings, like all that. But it makes you, 12 hours of basketball is a long time. So just a couple pieces of, thinly sliced ham every couple of hours keeps the motor going, and kind of keeps things on pace, on par.
Interesting.
You know what? There's going to be some people listening. They're going to tell their wife, "Hey, babe,
Yeah.
grab some ham this weekend."
And listen, you got to go to Chief, and you push the little bell, and they slice it up for you right
Yeah.
there, and put it in the white paper, butcher paper, and off you go.
That's great.
What do you like, Coach Strack?
I lean more towards pizza and wings, but anything beef related. Yeah, I'm a beef guy.
Okay.
Around the clock.
I thought you'd be all over cheddar brats.
I'm a cheddar brat guy too. But Greg's right, man. You can't get too heavy. Especially if you have a couple Mountain Dews. Those can tire you.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
12 hours, 4 days in a row is not for the meek. So you gotta strategize accordingly.
Yeah.
You know what I like that I have during March Madness? The only time I have it. Remember those old friendly Sundays, those Reese's Pieces Sundays
Oh, yeah.
that they had?
Oh, yeah.
You go to Chief and they got the Reese's Pieces syrup and the
Yeah.
candy and whatever else you put on there.
Oh, sweet tooth.
Yeah.
I like that.
Can't argue with anything.
Just one night.
Yeah.
Well, maybe two.
That's good.
Yeah.
Can't argue with any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoy the festivities.
Oh, we will. Best 4 days in sports.
Yeah,
It's the
absolutely.
best 4 days in
Get
sports.
signed up on CBSSports.com for our bracket challenge. $100 gift card to the men's and the women's bracket winner. So don't forget to fill out your women's bracket this season. You're going to get a $100 gift card right here to American Freedom Energy, so you could stock up on cheddar brats if you wanted to. I don't know if Glenn and Greg can get that many cheddar brats in.
Tell you what, the case is full.
Is it?
There you go.
So I bought a pack last week when we were here, and they were full with cheddar brats and every flavor you can think of. So.
Every time it goes above 60 degrees, you better get here quick because those brats are going to be gone in a hurry.
Yeah,
For sure,
absolutely.
for sure. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you,
you.
Greg, for joining us again as you
Thanks for having
started
me.
our season and rounded it out for us.
Yep,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you. Thanks for having me.
We might be back before July with our football stuff. If we may do some baseball.
Hey, we can get some baseball for you.
You know some baseball guys.
We do know some baseball guys.
Yeah,
So.
we may do that. So
All right.
stay tuned. If not,
Let us know.
We'll be back in July with our football coverage. Boy, gonna go quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have a
Well-
great week, everybody. Enjoy the basketball.